The needle was ready. The countdown had begun. A once heroic K-9 officer, now labeled too dangerous to live, stood behind cold steel bars, growling through fear, not rage. The vet whispered, "It's time." But before the injection touched his skin, the shelter doors swung open and a blind U.S. Marine walked in, his cane tapping softly, his face calm, yet broken. "Give me one chance," he said. The staff hesitated, then stepped aside. The Marine entered the cage. The dog lunged. Until the man spoke one single word, everything stopped. The K-9 froze, then whimpered, pressing his head into the Marine's chest. No one moved. No one breathed. That one word didn't just save a dog's life. It rewrote both of theirs. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. They called him Rex, a once celebrated K-9 officer with 6 years of decorated service. He'd saved lives, tracked criminals, and stood shoulder to shoulder with soldiers in combat zones. But one mission changed everything. During a raid overseas, an explosion left Rex injured and disoriented. His handler didn't survive. When Rex was brought back home, something in him was broken. Not his body, but his spirit. He became unresponsive, aggressive, unpredictable. The department tried rehabilitation, but every attempt failed. The loyal hero everyone once admired was now labeled dangerous. Days later, the order came through. Rex would be euthanized. The staff gathered in silence as he was placed in a holding room. The same dog who once wore medals now trembling in confusion. Outside, a storm brewed. Inside, the clock ticked toward his final hour. No one knew that fate had other plans, and that before the sun rose. A single word from a stranger would change everything they thought they knew about loyalty, love, and redemption. Miles away, in a quiet rehabilitation center, Sergeant Nathan Cole sat alone, his world forever dim. Once a fearless U.S. Marine, now blind after an explosion overseas, he lived in silence, haunted not by the darkness, but by the sound of a dog's last bark during that same blast. It wasn't just any dog. It was his K-9 partner, Rex. Everyone had told him Rex hadn't survived. For months, Nathan struggled to adjust to a life stripped of purpose. But then, by chance, he overheard a nurse talking about a violent K-9 scheduled for euthanasia at the city shelter. The description stopped him cold. The same scar across the ear, the same age, the same name. Rex, his hands clenched. "He's alive," he whispered, his heart racing for the first time in months. The next morning, Nathan requested transport to the shelter. He didn't know if Rex would recognize him, or if the dog he once loved would even remember his voice. But deep down, something told him he had to go, because sometimes fate doesn't forget the bond between two soldiers, even when the world does. The shelter was silent when Nathan arrived. The staff exchanged uneasy glances. Few visitors ever came for dogs marked dangerous. A handler led him down the hallway, his cane tapping softly against the floor. Behind one steel door, a low growl rumbled. "That's him," the handler warned. "He doesn't trust anyone anymore." Nathan smiled faintly. "Neither do I." He stepped closer, hearing the steady rhythm of breathing and the faint scrape of claws. The handler began to unlock the gate, but Nathan raised a hand. "Let me go in alone." Inside, the air was tense. Rex stood at the back of the cage, hackles raised, teeth bared. Nathan slowly knelt, his movements calm and deliberate. "It's okay, boy," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you." The growl deepened, echoing off the walls. Nathan took a slow breath, reaching out a trembling hand. Rex, the dog froze. The name, his name, rippled through the air like a forgotten memory stirring awake. The growl faded into a low whine. Nathan smiled, tears forming behind dark glasses. "It's me, partner." For a long moment, the world stood still, a blind Marine and his lost K-9, separated by fate, reunited by instinct. Something inside both of them had just come back to life. The air inside the holding room felt heavy, like time itself was holding its breath. Rex paced in circles, ears flat, low growls rumbling deep in his chest. The shelter director stood ready outside the door, syringe in hand, his voice low. "It's time." But Nathan stepped forward. "No, let me try something." Ignoring their protests, he entered the room alone. The door clicked shut behind him. For a long moment, there was only silence, the sound of steady breathing, the soft tap of his cane against the floor. Rex turned sharply, growling, his body coiled like a spring. Nathan knelt down. "Easy, soldier," he whispered. His voice cracked, part command, part prayer. "You remember me, don't you?" The growling deepened. Nathan's fingers trembled as he took a deep breath and spoke the word that once meant trust, loyalty, and life itself. "Stand down." Rex froze. His breathing slowed. The growl faded into a quiet whimper. Then, cautiously, he stepped forward, one paw, then another, until his head rested gently against Nathan's knee. Outside, the staff watched through the window in stunned silence. One word had done what no treatment, no training, no force could. It hadn't just calmed a broken K9. It had awakened a bond that never truly died. Over the next few weeks, Nathan and Rex were inseparable. Rehabilitation turned into reunion. The staff watched in awe as the once feared K9 transformed back into the disciplined, loyal soldier he had been. Under Nathan's calm voice, Rex obeyed every command: sit, stay, search, as if no time had passed at all. But their bond was about to face one final test. One afternoon, while walking near the rehab center, a car backfired loudly. The sharp crack echoed like gunfire. Nathan froze instantly, instincts kicking in, memories of the battlefield flashing through his mind. Beside him, Rex reacted, not in fear, but in protection. He leapt forward, pulling Nathan down and shielding him with his body, scanning the surroundings, ready to defend. Nathan reached out, finding Rex's head, whispering, "Easy, boy. It's just noise." Slowly, Rex relaxed, pressing closer. In that moment, Nathan realized this wasn't just his service dog. This was his guardian, his eyes, his second chance at life. The Marine had saved Rex from death. Now, Rex had returned the favor, reminding everyone watching that loyalty never dies. It just waits to be remembered. Months later, the day came for Rex's official discharge. The shelter held a small ceremony, not of sadness, but of honor. The once condemned K9 now stood proudly beside his handler, tail wagging, eyes bright. Nathan wore his dress uniform, his hand resting gently on Rex's head. When asked to speak, Nathan simply said, "He saved me, long before I ever saved him." His voice broke, but his smile didn't. The room fell silent. Moved by the truth in those few words, they walked out together. Sunlight poured across the courtyard. Rex stopped, looking back one last time, as if saying goodbye to the life he'd left behind. From that day on, wherever Nathan went, Rex followed, not as a soldier, not as a service dog, but as family. Two broken warriors, finally whole again.